Hey everyone, welcome to Alchemy with Zero Phase. My name is Eric, and I'm thrilled to have you here. Thank you for joining me as we explore the fascinating world of AI art and creative tools. If you enjoy the content, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel for more tutorials, tips, and fun experiments. Also, if you're looking to elevate your own creative process, check out ZeroGen, our powerful prompt and image generation platform. You can start using the free version today or take advantage of our 3-day free trial for even more features. Check out the link in the description or on the main channel page. Now, let's dive into today's video. Hey everyone, welcome to the video. In this video, I was originally going to walk through the process of creating a basic Python interface that would allow you to utilize this prompt generator that we've been building over the last couple of videos on your local system, so you didn't have to necessarily go to the web page and interface with it there. And I started recording the video and realized that there was just so much functionality that I wanted to add, and it was just taking a while. So I just decided over the last, two and a half days, 3 days, to just create a program. And I've uploaded it to GitHub, and I'll make this, so I'll make the link available. It's called LLM Requester here. I'm going to change it to XeroLLM. And so what this is it's a way for you to interact with multiple LLMs at the same time through a workflow. So I'm going to go through this. I am going to go through and there's some things I want to improve on the prompt generator that we have been working with, and but we'll do that possibly in another video or at the end of this video, depending on how much time we have. I don't want this one to be too long. I want to go through and show you what I built so that you can get an understanding of how this should help with your prompt, not necessarily just your prompt generator, but give you a really cool way of interacting with multiple LLMs, including the local Ollama LLM interface. So what you have here in this first interface is a list of, I call them instruction prompts, but you can call them workflows if you want. You saw briefly there, I brought up one. It is a node-based interface. You can add, edit, or delete them. Here you can put in your request, whatever it is, and that gets sent to whatever the workflow is. And your responses come out here, and it is a formatted window. It will format it similar to like ChatGPT, where you can copy code and it formats headings and things like that. Just as an example, let's just do this. Show me some example Python code. It sends that out and then comes back, and as you can see, it formats it very beautifully, gives you the ability to copy the code and move it out. Okay. This was a lot of fun. So let's start here. Up here under File, we have Manage APIs. What this does is it gives you a window where you can add API endpoints to pretty much any API endpoint you want. I have a couple here that are OpenAI standard, meaning they utilize the OpenAI API standard interface. So you got Groq here, and you got OpenAI here. And then I've also made it so you can interface with Ollama, which does interface slightly different on the URL. It doesn't require an API key, that kind of thing. We'll show you the Groq one here, just for kicks. I'm not worried about the API key because it hides it. So here I've named it. You have the base URL that you would need to interface with that. Obviously, you got to go get an account, get an API key, and you're going to select the interface type. And you just have two. It's either OpenAI or Ollama. The system is designed to go out and acquire the available models from the API interface, so you can select that. And then here, you need to specify the maximum tokens, or you can leave it blank if you want, that the model can use. I typically like to find out what the maximum number of tokens the model will use and just put that in here. For Ollama, it is similar, except it doesn't require an API key. So you name it, whatever you want. Give it the base URL of your Ollama server, And I'll briefly instruct you on how to make Ollama available over your local network. It's just adding an environment variable to your Windows or Mac or Linux environment variables. You got to specify Ollama here, and then again it goes out and acquires the models that you have installed on your Ollama installation. Okay. And again, specify the maximum tokens that the model allows. I need to look at this because I know with Ollama some of these models allow for more tokens, but most of them I just leave it at 8,192. Seems to be good for what I'm doing in this, and we go from there. So you can add as many as you want on that. Okay. Add, there it gives you a blank interface, add all that in, and lists it here. Okay, so then what we have are the instruction prompts. And let's bring up this one. So this is my plan, create, improve workflow. So we'll bring that up. And you have a starting node, you have processing nodes, and a finished node. And what this allows you to do, if we go in here, you add a node, like the start node, and you go and edit it. And what it gives you is a basic interface that allows you to select which API you want this particular instruction set to go to. And it allows you to specify test criteria. So you notice that there are two endpoints on this. There's a true and a false. If you don't specify a test criteria, it just automatically assumes true and sends the output to the next node. And when I say test criteria, I'm going to show you what I mean by that. But then you can specify a description of the node, kind of like naming it or just describing what the node is for. It makes it easy to identify instead of just it saying start node 1. So it is interesting. I didn't really think about this. Can I add another start node? Oh, I can. This is going to allow us for some interesting flexibility. I kind of am thinking I may end up turning this into some sort of an agentic system by adding functionality to these nodes by allowing multiple start points, because it is multi-threaded, and combining those outputs and doing some various things like that. That's really cool. Okay, so you create your node, name it, add the instructions, drag the point here. We can actually delete the connection. You can move your connections around. The false ones allow you to attach to various things if needed, but since this one doesn't have a test criteria, we don't need to worry about it. This one also does not have a test criteria, but this one does right here. So let's go into that one. And what I've done is in the instructions, I am having it review the content and grade it on a scale of 1 to 10. And if it doesn't meet certain criteria, like if it doesn't meet the 8.5 or above rating, when it rates the content or whatever it's rating, then what it does is it does not include the review pass. Okay, it tests to see if that word has been included in the response. If it does not, then what it does is it sends its review, so the original content and the review, back to the processing node and reprocesses it using the review and the suggested improvements from this, and reprocesses that, and then it sends it back down to the review. And if it meets that, again, meets the 8.5 rating, minimum rating, then it sends it off to the finalization and completion node, which is here, where it just finalizes any further suggestions that it has, and then outputs the final result without the review content. And here you can see I'm using GPT-4o Mini. Some of these I'm using different models. Let's see. So I think the beginning one, I'm using just the Ollama 3.18b, just because I'm just asking it to come up with a high-level plan. This executes the plan using Mini. The rating, I think I'm using Ollama to rate it. Sometimes I was using the Groq LLM to rate it because it's fast. And then just process. So I want to show you what this does. So we're going to close these. I'm going to leave this open so you can see what this does. Please write a short blog about butterflies. So when I hit submit, I have to have an instruction prompt sequence up here selected. I'm going to hit submit. It's going to send it into this, and you'll see it's going to highlight the node that it's currently working on. So it highlights green here, creates the high-level plan, sends it up to the execution plan, it's going to build the report or blog or whatever, sends it down here to the rate and review. If it meets the 8.5 or whatever rating, then it sends it up here, which it does. GPT-4o mini is pretty good. And then you'll see it output the final result down here once it's done writing out the blog. And there you go. Nicely formatted, titles, headings. Now we can change the review. I'll show you what it'll do if we change this to where maybe it's a really high, we want it to be a really good blog. We'll say 9.3. Save that, save this, hit submit again, watch it go through and execute it. Builds the plan, executes the plan, it's going to write it. Once it's done writing it, it's going to send it down to the rate and review. And then it sends it back up to the execute plan because the blog didn't meet the minimum rating. It's going to implement the changes that were recommended by the rate and review node, sends it back down to the rate and review node. It's going to re-rate it, re-review it. If it passes, sends it up to the finalize and complete, and it does. So it reached the 9 point whatever rating. It's going to finalize that, output the finalized and edited version. There we go. Oh. I've run into this problem before where it only outputs the review. So I'll have to double check. But the whole point is you now have the ability, you can create these nice workflows, do testing and sending the information around. Now the problem I run into is, and I think this is where I'm going to get into the agentic stuff, is the outputs from each of these I want to maybe possibly put into some kind of a storage point so that each node has the context of what it's working with. And that's the problem I run into here is I'm trying to ensure that it passes the context through saying your expected output is the original content provided, and then after that you'll provide your review. And it didn't do that, or it did, and in here it maybe I didn't save. I thought I edited this, so I just need to edit this and make sure that it's outputting the final modified content. Well, it does say that. I'll have to modify it. AIs act weird. Anyway, as you can see, it's pretty cool. So you can add as many nodes as you want, format them, connect them, whatever, delete them, name them, that kind of thing. Let's close that. So this is set up to format this similar to how ChatGPT would format it. So you get the nice titling and everything else. You can copy and paste this out using Control-C. I'm going to add some right-click editing capabilities because right now you can't right-click on anything in here. So this is available on GitHub. The GitHub link, or let me see if I've got the GitHub up right now. Yeah. Is right here. So it's under Zero Phase, and then the XeroLLM is the name of the repository with some instructions and basic information on how to use it, how to install it. Okay, so if you want to try it out, give it a try. I would love to hear suggestions. I kind of want to build this out agentically, so I'm not super familiar with how that works. I've tried doing some research in like how to use LangChain, things like that, and I am not familiar with that right now. So it'd be kind of cool to connect with somebody who does and maybe work on developing this a little bit to utilize LangChain and maybe even provide tools that can be incorporated into these nodes. I think that would be absolutely fun if, like, when we edit this, we specify the tool that that can use, and figure out how to do the storage, whether it's using Acorn or some sort of a local vector database, so that there is context and history. So if you're interested in that, please let me know. I would love to find out more about how to do that. These are resizable to a degree. The canvas is limited in size. I'm thinking maybe setting up so you can zoom in, zoom out, that kind of thing. Okay, let's get into this. So the original reason for doing this was because I was helping people understand how to build a prompt generator for Flux. And we did create one. And currently it's right here. This is the original one that we left off with on the second video. And it currently works pretty good. I've got it set up to utilize ChatGPT or GPT-4o Mini. It tends to work the best with that. But there are some modifications that we were going to implement that over the last several days since the last video, I've gone through and done some analysis on it to determine like which, like, what changes need to be made to make it work better, more reliable, that kind of thing. Just as an example, let's show you like what we mean. Let's say we want a portrait watercolor painting of a dog. Submit that, and we get our prompt right here, and it's automatically incorporating text, which I don't want all the time, so we need to modify it from that. We also, some of the other changes I wanted to modify were moving where it's placing the art medium specification, having it be more specific instead of using just general terms. Like if you're not being specific in your request, it tends to not be specific down here. Incorporating specifics like color, placement, that kind of thing. So we're going to go through and try to incorporate some of these. This video may get a little long. If you want to watch, great. Some of you might just be excited to utilize this here. So go ahead and try that out. But let's get into modifying this and seeing what we can do to improve its ability to incorporate these changes, like being more specific. So we're going to grab all of this. One of the things I'm going to change is this text window. I want it to be a little bit bigger so that or resizable even. Let's see. Yeah, see, it's not really resizable right now, which makes it difficult to edit this in place. So we're going to move over to using a editor, specifically, Notebook++. And what we'll do is we will just copy and paste as we make changes and test it to make sure that it works. So the first thing is that text stuff is a little frustrating. So let's take a look at this here and see. Text requests are user requests asking for an image, but they may request that there is text in the image in various ways. An example would be user asking for a sign that says something on the sign. I need you to intuitively incorporate that text in the following way at the very beginning of each prompt. Okay, we specify that. So one of the rules is, let me see if I incorporate it into composition. Okay, we got that. You will describe details, describe third-party persons, Word, Canvas, or Canvas. Okay, let's just add another rule. If the user request does not specifically ask for text to be included in the image or description, will not include the specialized text formatting. And then let's just do that. Okay, it didn't include it that time. Let's try it a couple of times here. Make sure it doesn't do it. And now let's do with the title, Man's Best Friend. Oops. There we go. So it did include it that time. Let's try a different one. Fantasy digital illustration of a horse in a field with a castle in the background. Okay, did not include text. A majestic ethereal horse gallops gracefully through a vibrant field. Okay. It adopts a balanced composition with a slight upward angle. Okay, so we're looking for a horse running through a field with a slight upward angle. Emerald field. Grand medieval castle looms above. Okay, so let's grab that. Let's go render that out. Change this to a landscape, I think. Don't think I need to refresh the page, but we'll see. Let's check the console here. Yeah, it looks like it's going. There we go. There it goes. Okay. There we go. Now, one of the things that I incorporated in my online platform here is the ability to modify the existing prompts. And I'm not going to build that into this here because I didn't want this to be specific to just prompt generation. When I started building this, that was my goal, but as I realized how quickly I was building this up, I decided to make it a lot more flexible. So if you want the functionality of having the ability to manipulate these prompts that you've generated on the fly or analyze images, that's what the system is for. So, where are we? Yeah, great image. Yeah, castle above and background gives you the beautiful bounce. Well composed. Okay, so and the text seems to be working better now too. So we'll run with that. Let's bring this up and don't need that open anymore. Okay, so now the next task, we fixed the text issue, at least for now. Through testing, you'll see if it's permanent or not. It does not feel much like a watercolor painting. Oh, no, it's a digital illustration. Okay, that was one of the things I wanted to test. Let's test the watercolor painting. One thing I noticed when there's a lot of details in the prompt, it tends, and depending on where the medium is placed, it tends to lose its focus on what the medium actually is. And it ends up just looking like a digital illustration. It looks like it's maintaining it. It looks like it's doing really well with it. It looks like a watercolor painting. We're going to drop the number of steps down here. We don't need 20 steps. I typically like to be at 8. We'll let this one finish, but we'll work at 8 so we can work through these a little quicker. And if I need to, I'll pause the recording to jump through them real quick. Okay, so it does look better, more watercolorish, but not quite. So what we're going to do, just to test, what we're going to do is come over here. It is... Yeah, so let's go to the beginning here. Watercolor painting of... Just want to put the art medium at the beginning to test to see if that helps with the quality of the image as a watercolor image. think it did help a little bit. It definitely looks a little more watercolory. It's got that texture to it. I worry about like these flowers are just a little too precise. Watercolor paintings tend to look more like these trees in the back, you know, where it's not very specific. You know, I guess you could get that, but these just look too accurate. But I don't know, maybe that's just the model I'm using as well. Could be a lot of the details. Let's take this, get rid of all of these details. I want to see if reducing the number of details improves the look of the watercolor style. Oops. The reason for this is when designing a prompt generator, you're trying to find a balance between the number of details you can have without losing focus on the important aspects, like making sure it looks like a watercolor painting, or the placement of the individual or character in the image. So it looks about the same. So it looks like that is going to be what this model can do in the way of watercolor, and it does. It looks like a watercolor. You know, it's got that same texture. You can see that kind of paper texture in the background, even right here. So I think the way it's let's come over here. Let's render this one more time. So going back to the original prompt and looking at this, it definitely looks more photographic than it does watercolor. Just with how it's handling like focus, and it doesn't feel like a watercolor painting. So I think we are going to need to move where the art medium is placed. So let's go over to our editor here. I think we did try to specify the structure of the prompt, art medium or photograph type being used to create the image. We're going to grab that, put that up here. So it does feel a lot like the original Stable Diffusion in that sense that Stable Diffusion really, the SD models really did like you specifying the art medium at the very beginning. It just helped it achieve that result better. So we're going to put art medium or photograph at the beginning. Okay, so let's try that. Make sure it actually formats it properly. Okay, and submit. Fantasy watercolor painting. There we go. So it did specify it at the beginning. And Castle Bay, the soft hues. Let's do a fantasy. What is it called? Contemporary. AI, if I spell it wrong, AI knows how to fix it. Contemporary. Let's grab that. Yeah, that's definitely better. Putting the art medium at the beginning. Getting a much more watercolor style painting look. I'm not going to say it's perfect, but it's definitely a lot closer. Cool. All right. So I feel like changing the placement of the art medium helped. So let's go back here. Let's see. What do we got else? What else we got on the list here? We got. We need to help it be a little more creative in being very specific. Let's take a look at that prompt that it gave us. So a contemporary watercolor painting of a majestic horse galloping through a vibrant, lush green field. Okay, so that was very specific. Off-centered composition draws attention to the flowing mane and tail in motion. A distant, enchanted castle looms softly in the background. Gentle sunlight embraces the scene. Earthly tones and whimsical pastels. So not much to be specific. And kind of what I'm getting at is its ability, like if I just say portrait painting. I'm not going to be specific in that. Let's just see what it says. See, this is what I mean. What kind of prompt can I describe here? Let's try that again. Yeah, it's just kind of a dog. golden retriever. So it was specific there. Captured mid-bark. Its expressive eyes shimmering with life. Off-centered composition enriched the dynamic pose against a warm, rustic backdrop, accentuating by soft brush strokes. You know, given the size of the prompt that we're specifying, it's not doing too bad. It was creative in the composition where it's the dog is mid-bark, talks about his expressive eyes, the rustic backdrop. It's not being specific like what's in the background, it just says rustic backdrop. So let's just tweak it a little bit just to see if we can't get it to be a little more specific. Let's go over here. We're going to create a new section called Creativity. We're going to say when generating the prompts, you are allowed to be creative in filling in specific details if they are not provided. Details like color, placement, image, other objects, and in general, creating a immersive scene utilizing whatever the user request is, but filling in the details creatively if they are not provided. So what I'm doing here, you'll feel like I'm being repetitive. I am. You notice I did that twice, telling it to be creative, not just in the title. The title insinuates, here's where we need creativity, but we're saying you're allowed to be creative, filling in specific details if they're not provided. Here we say again, but filling in the details creatively if they are not provided. This is important when dealing with LLMs. Adding details around something gives it more context, but it helps them focus. The diffusion models are the same way. When you add more details around a specific subject, the diffusion model tends to focus on that object, bringing it to the front even, or making it more apparent in the image. So let's give that a try and see how it works. Okay, a portrait painting of a joyful golden retriever playfully tilting its head with a wagging tail. Okay, good. I gave a couple details on that. Centered composition highlights expressive eyes and shining fur. Frontal angle captures the dog's charm. Soft, grassy backdrop enhances warmth. Bright golden sunlight casts a cheerful glow, evoking playfulness and joy. Okay, that's actually better than the previous one. Let's just see if we can specify portrait painting. Yeah. So it's still, if we're not giving it enough details, it's still kind of defaulting to this. So we need to address that. What we're going to do, creativity, if the user request does not contain enough details, please be creative and utilize what you can and generate requested number of prompts utilize what you can and generate random details to generate the prompts. You will never not generate prompts. That could be dangerous. We'll see what it does. Save. Make sure we save it there, and it's not. Oh, come on. Now, what kind of prompt can I generate for you? Portrait paintings. Yeah, it still doesn't like that. Okay. Part of this is kind of remembering how I did it before too, because in my other prompt generators, I had very specific instructions that allowed you to just type in something like horse, painting, whatever. Let's see, text response. Or does not contain any details. You will always creatively generate prompt. Let's try that again. Okay, it's still not liking that. Okay, version verbiage, okay, vernacular, I did all the request, you will limit this paragraph to only 50 visual. So there's something, typically if it's not doing what I'm expecting to do, there's what's happened is somewhere else in the prompt, I've got an instruction that is preventing it from giving that. So let's take a look here. I'm going to pause the video and just take a look real quick. Okay, I got it. So a couple things I changed. There was a detail up here where I said if they do not provide any details, it is okay to add details and to be creative in expounding on the user's idea holding to the thing. So I added this part right here. If they do not provide any details, it is okay to add details. The second thing I did is I added a rule down here, since I don't ever want it to respond with something like this. So I said you will never return a response like this here, basically. But the one thing I did notice, and this is what I do for all my other prompt generators, is always let the AI know the user request is as follows. I didn't have that at the end. And so it didn't know that what I was, so when I put something as small as this down here, it's kind of thinking it's part of the prompt because it appends the user request to the end of this, and so it didn't understand that. So by doing this, honestly, I probably could have just done this and would have been fine. But adding these other ones didn't take away from it either. So I said portrait paintings, and so what I got is acrylic portrait painting of a contemplative woman, her intents. It very creatively created this prompt. It added a lot of good detail. So if we come and do this here, we're going to go we're going to change it back to portrait and generate that. So it specified acrylic painting. I feel like it held to that pretty well. You actually do get what look like our brush strokes in this. That's awesome. Good. So that was what we needed for that. What's cool about this is you can specify, come over here, we'll do like we did in the other one. We'll say, let's say 5 prompts. See, make sure that functions still. We'll submit that, wait for it to give the response. We should get 5 prompts here. See, that was the other thing. That I do have this on my to-do list. It numbered them. I don't like it numbering them. Just because, I mean, it's okay. The whole point is to be able to copy this, come over here, oops, and go down and paste it into the prompts from file or text box and just paste them in there. So you can just render out a whole bunch of prompts all at the same time. I don't want anything taking away from the prompt. You know, especially in my original prompt generators, I used to put like a 6-character ID at the beginning of every prompt as a way of helping to identify those prompts, and it was kind of a way of securing my prompt generator or whatever. I realized it was taking away from the effectiveness of the prompt, so I got rid of them. So I don't like putting that there. So let's go ahead and fix that aspect now. We got oil painting, acrylic painting, watercolor painting, digital portrait, and a charcoal drawing. Okay, good. Even though I specified painting, it kind of threw that last one in there, and that's another issue. I specified painting, and one of the things I want to make sure this does is when I specify painting in my prompt request, even if I request multiple prompts, I want each and every prompt to be a painting, whether it's acrylic or watercolor or oil or whatever. And what it's doing here is it's not holding to that. That's why it specified charcoal. So what we need to do is make sure that the user request is applied to each and every prompt. So let's take a look at this. It may just be another rule that we add in here. But we got to be careful about this one. One of the things I remember is that some of the instructions I gave it when I said you need to, each and every prompt you generate after this needs to maintain the same structure or whatever. And what it would do is actually just duplicate the first prompt 5 times or whatever. So let's come in here and we're going to say, well, I don't know, let's see. Each and every prompt generated needs to hold to the basic user request while also being creative. For example, if the user request says portrait paintings, each prompt generated should be a painting of some sort. Portrait painting, even if it is using different painting mediums or other details. We're going to try that. Again, these AIs are getting smarter, so I've gotten used to knowing when it'll understand what I'm getting at. So we're going to try this. We'll take care of the numbering issue here shortly, if it is an issue. So it doesn't look like it is this time. So we got a vibrant oil painting, expressive watercolor, charcoal drawing, mixed media portrait, and acrylic portrait. So that one is still a painting, but these other ones are not. So let's take another look at this. So I made a couple of additions to this prompt here. Whenever the user request is but filling in the details to see where it is at. Oh, the rule, yeah, that's right. So each and every prompt generator needs to hold the basic user request while also being creative. For example, if the user requests a portrait painting, each prompt generated should be a portrait painting. Even if it's using different painting mediums or other details, it would never generate a prompt that is not a painting, not a portrait painting, because the user request only specified a portrait painting. So I'm being very repetitive there. The result is better. We're still getting, for some reason, this charcoal. Like, well, I did request portrait drawing here. And so most of them were drawings, with the exception of this one. It says watercolor painting, not sure why, and then everything else was like ink drawing or pastel drawing. So, you know, it's one of the rules that I kind of had to implement when developing my other prompt generators was you're never going to get 100% all the time. And so what I shot for was like this, what I perceived to be like an 85 to 90% accuracy. So you could at least get good results most of the time. So that's fine. But we are getting the prompts now. Let's see if we can handle the numbering. Let's come down here. I think we're going to do this rule below this one. You will never number or list the prompts. You will only return the paragraphs separated by a single blank line. Try that. Save. I tell you what, I remember working with GPT 3.5 and trying to get rid of the stupid numbering. Every time I tried numbering the paragraphs was kind of a nightmare. What's cool about this is we could actually utilize the node process here to help with that. We could actually add a processing node and connect it to this. And in this processing node, it would resubmit the returned prompts and then saying check for paragraph numbering. If the paragraphs are numbered, please remove the numbers and return only the paragraphs. This is going to be pretty flexible in being able to manipulate these. But I think we nailed it. As you notice, let's get rid of this one. I've done this twice. We'll do it again here just to see if it numbers them. It's still not numbering. That's good. Okay. So that's awesome. Let's see. Let's take a look at the list here. So I think we handled that issue. The details I think is much nicer. It adds a lot more specific details. Got rid of the numbers. Reinforced text inclusion. We took care of that. Placement, color, object, people, places, things, and instruct how to handle general requests. I think we nailed it. And so what I'm going to do, I'm going to post this prompt here. I'm going to go ahead and make this available in my Google Share. If you go to share.xerophase.com, you'll get access. You can access my Google Share that I have there. I'll make this available for people who want to utilize it, and I'll also provide the link to my GitHub for we'll call it XeroLLM. So you can play around with this too. And again, I would love to connect with somebody who is very familiar with how agentic systems work, especially LangChain and vector databases, and see if there's a way that we can incorporate the tools that LangChain incorporates. And I'm going to be studying up on that as well, try to figure that out. I'm just limited in my time. I run a full-time managed IT company, and we're growing, and I don't have a lot of time there, and spending time with family and whatnot. But my wife is pretty forgiving when I do spend late nights working on stuff like this. She knows it's for the best. Hopefully, something comes of this, because I would love to see this turn into something a little more agentic, where I can add tools like the ability to do a web search on this or whatever. But definitely leave your comments, like and subscribe, share this out. Definitely need the visibility, and we'll talk to you later, and hopefully come up with some decent new videos soon.